Hot Recruiting. This is Jenny.
And Ro.
And today, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we wanted to share our backgrounds with you and talk a little bit about the topic.
Yes, I'm so excited for this topic. And we also wore our Colombian tops. This is a brand called Juanita that's made in Colombia. So we wanted to celebrate a little bit of our culture as well. My background, I came from Colombia when I was between 2 and 3 years old. And so I don't really remember much of Colombia when I was little. But I've always kind of struggled with that. You know, we've talked about that, like not really feeling like you belong in Colombia and you don't feel like you belong in the US. I've, visited Colombia a lot. When I'm there, I always thought like, oh, this is where I'll finally fit in. And then they always are like, where are you from? Like they don't think that you're one of them. So I feel like I've always had that struggle. How about you?
I know. I think we talked about this. I came here when I was 14 years old, didn't go back to Colombia for like 20 years. And my first trip back, you weren't there. It was really sad. But when I came back, I had this identity crisis because for the last 20 years, I've been in America, not feeling part of America, definitely a foreign kid still. Every once in a while, my accent still comes out. And then I get to Colombia and people are like, oh my gosh, where are you from? Are you from Chile? And I was like, Chile? We've never even been there. Or like just all kinds of questions of where I'm from, which, definitely gave me a total crisis.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot just in general. So when I came here, my parents, they were just really young in their 20s starting out. And so they actually started a business in the outdoor swap meet mall. And then in the indoor one too, we actually had this like tiny little space. And that's where it was actually an accident. They did the layout wrong. And so they gave them this tiniest, smallest space that ended up thriving. And I think that's where I learned a lot about valuing. And when I'm talking about in recruiting, adding value to yourself, my parents sold children's clothing and I would watch my dad wheel and deal and just sell so much. And I always wanted to do it. I was like 4 years old and I always wanted to sell. My dad would be like, no, you can't sell. But my like weekends, my childhood, all I remember is the swap meet because I would go there and during Christmas time, that place would get so packed and everybody, it was a lot of Hispanics, mainly Hispanics that would go to the swap meet. And my dad had no choice but to let me help. And so it was so funny because he would tell me like, okay, you need to upsell, you need to throw in shoes. They did a lot of baptism stuff. So it's like, you got to do that. So I would just stand there and help and do all that. And I would yell like, pásale bonito y barato, which means like, come on in. It's cheap and beautiful.
Yeah, it's like good looking and cheap.
So like a little 4-year-old yelling, as people walked by. And so that was like my first job technically. That I think was such a great lesson, but it was also difficult because I had this life that was very, instilled in the Hispanic culture. But then I would go home. My parents had moved us to South Orange County. They had bought a home where my brother and I were the only like Hispanics. So they would all play on the weekend, ding dong ditching, like playing hockey on the street. And I would have to go help at the swap meet.
Normal childhood.
Yeah. And I would like, I would get to play and I had my friends at the swap meet, but like it was just two different worlds and I think that's early on where I felt that of like not fitting in, like, okay, I speak to Spanish with these friends, but then over here, like they can't even say my name, Rocio. So that's where like Ro came about, so that was like my background. And as I got older, I continued to help them and got into sales, I think because of that in the beginning. And Jenny actually came to visit when you were like 4 too.
Yes.
So you had a little bit of that, like where you'd come visit.
Yeah. I have memories of being at the swap meet, when I was like 4. We were here for a year between like the ages of 4 and 5. Don't remember all of it except for like, I think I broke my foot or something.
Oh yeah, I remember that. There's a picture of my dad holding her with a broken foot.
Yeah. At the airport. I think
at the airport. Yes, I remember.
So not a ton of memories because I was really young, but that was my first experience here. And then 10 years later at age 14, so yesterday, we moved.
One day we'll reveal our ages.
I think I just did with all of the math. I'm 20 years here, 18 years over there, but I'm still 25, so I don't math. But yeah, so fast forward when we moved to the US, our family were in South County, so that's my introduction as well. So it was immediately, I'm thankful for it in many ways because it sped up my learning of English because I didn't know any English at the time. But the culture shock was crazy. I remember going to school and the janitor having to tell me where the classroom was because nobody else in the school spoke Spanish. So,
and unfortunately, we have a 5-year age difference. I am older, and so I wasn't there to help her at school. Otherwise, I would have,
Yeah. So actually, I'm 20 and you're 25. Is
yeah,
that what it is?
Actually,
yes,
that's what
it is.
Yeah.
We're forgetting. But yeah, and that also was kind of an introduction for me to know where people in America, people that represent me, my people, fit into kind of the society just in general. And for that, I think we were looking at some of the stats recently you were sharing with me. We had a conversation and what brought up wanting to do this this episode.
Yeah, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Hispanics make up 19% of the U.S. civilian labor force. And in the last 2 decades, the Hispanic labor force has increased by 69%, which is great.
Positive.
Amazing. I love seeing that. But the sad part to me was that only 4% are in executive roles. And so that was something that I think we both were shocked by, and then also kind of not surprised though either, because in the organizations we have worked in the past where our friends work, where our family works, we also see that there is not people that get promoted, or when we're coming into a company, we are not seeing that example.
There's no
representation. And I think that's why we're so passionate. We wanted to do this video for you guys because we just want to bring awareness to that, and also help our Hispanic community. And, any struggles that someone may have, definitely leave it in the comments, subscribe. We would love to cover any of those topics. I know for me, when I was, applying and stuff, there was a point in my life where I changed my name to Rose, 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 not even Rose, Mac, instead of my full last name, to make it sound more Americanized, because my resume wasn't getting picked up. So I learned early on, and a lot of my friends called me Rose because they couldn't, like I said, pronounce my name. And so I had changed it for a while to Rose. A lot of my friends growing up still think of me as Rose.
Yeah.
And so I did end up getting more jobs that way. So I think there is, and I've even gone adding my picture, when I've had my name so that they could see me, or making sure they see my LinkedIn profile to see my photo. So I think, there are those things still prevalent within the workforce that definitely need to change. There needs to be a huge shift there. And that's something I try to educate in my companies I've worked at, that you need to have leadership, being passionate about that, but also having your interview panel be more diverse.
Yep.
Because candidates are more, when they see representation of themselves, they're more likely to apply. They're more likely to interview. Yep. So I think that's a huge thing within companies.
Definitely. Yeah. My name is Jenny, and my maiden name is Diaz, Jenny Diaz. It was, something easy. I didn't have to change it. I'm not Jennifer, though. My parents didn't realize that Jenny was short or a nickname for another name. So it's just Jenny. My middle name is Alejandra. Never share that name. I never even say it. Jenny Diaz. And people would meet me and they'd be like, but what is your real name? That is your American name. But what is your real name? I'm like, nope, this is my birth certificate name. Jenny is me. This is it. Just Jenny. but yeah, and you know, biases are present. Some are intentional and some are not, but we both work really hard to ensure that yeah, we are informing, we are helping organizations and you know everyone around us to hopefully eliminate these in the workplace.
So yeah, those are a lot of struggles that Hispanics have in the workplace. I think that a lot of it is also just not having that knowledge of,
Yeah,
you know, how to go around that or how to go about it. So some of the ways are, you know, we talked about in another video, standing out. So you know, emailing directly a recruiter or finding them on LinkedIn, making that connection, reaching out, just showing you're really interested, going above and beyond also helps stand out. And just not letting, you know, obviously it is true, but not letting that stay with
yeah,
you and just, you know, continuing to be positive and knowing that you're worthy of the position and you know, reaching out with that confidence of like, hey, take a look at me. I would love to interview for this.
yeah,
So I think those things can help you with those struggles.
yeah.
Um,
Knowledge is power, as Rose
yeah.
says, and
Yeah.
Johnny.
Yeah. So my late best friend, that was his thing. He used to always say knowledge is power.
And
And it's so true.
it's so true. And for me, knowledge gives me confidence. And, you know, that's what you need ultimately. You need to believe in yourself, and then everyone else will follow. So that's what we want to do. We want to empower you with the knowledge so you go out there super confident, you know your value, and you ask for it.
Yeah. And I think with Hispanics too, and we've talked about this a little bit in our intro video, you know, school, getting into school, kind of going through that path before you get to the workforce or trying to do it while you're in the workforce can be difficult, you know, because I know like when we came here, my parents didn't know English very well. So I was their translator for a while and probably shouldn't be privy to like, you know, back to school nights, a lot of information that I had to translate, you know, sometimes accurately,
Doctors,
sometimes not.
the doctor visits were the awkward ones, but
Yeah, and it's just like something that, you know, at an early age, you end up learning a lot, but also you don't have, you know, a lot of access to resources because your parents didn't grow up in this country. So that's another struggle I think Hispanics face. So I feel like there is this, you know, like if you're thinking of the starting line, you know, Hispanics are a little bit back here just because of that learning curve. And
yeah,
so for me, I know that like I was very grateful to a lot of my high school friends, shout out. I had a really good group where they were, you know, all Caucasian and their parents had shown them the pathways to university. And so I kind of like would go study with them and follow their
yeah,
paths. I'd ask them what they were doing and they would go talk to a school counselor. So if you are Hispanic, you're in high school or anything like that, trying to figure out what the pathway is, definitely go talk to your school counselor, have them help you. I
yeah.
can't tell you how much I adore my school counselor because she really got me on the right path. How about you? Was that like similar? I think
It was a little bit different because when I came here, it was like you know high school, and I was like just there was too much catching up for me. So it took me a few years after high school to like understand that even like community college existed and that that was a path and that people were
mm-hmm.
doing it. I had no idea what I was doing. But all of this gave me so many insecurities, especially in tech, because like you know, there's all these
Mm-hmm.
people that come and they have these impressive backgrounds, and you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, I cannot compete. There's no way that I could like, you know, ever compete with somebody, you know, that went to like X school and has this resume and did internships when they were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I mean, technically, like you could call this an
Yeah.
internship, but like, no, you know, like way, way too far behind. So I was super insecure about it and just kept staying in the background learning, but I was doing all of these jobs and, you know, for free pretty much because I kept taking on more and more jobs to get more and more skills so I could get more and more knowledge so that I can grow my
Mm-hmm.
confidence. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm like, everyone else is just figuring it out. Like nobody knows what they're doing. They're faking it. They're just, you know, going about it. the difference is they know how to ask for money and they know how to get paid. So that's where you need to come in and do the same thing. We're all just trying to figure it out. We're all doing the exact same thing. And in fact, like now I understand that like all of the journeys that we went through, like they made me the great, what I believe, great asset to
you are.
I believe it now.
Yeah.
To any organization.
Yeah, and I think, like you said earlier, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
So if you are, in that position right now, educate yourself. When your parents tell you like, oh, don't hang out with those people, hang out with a good group. It's so true. They're not just saying it because they don't want you, because they just care about you and don't want you to get into trouble, but also because of the influence, like the people around you that like influence you ultimately is who you reflect as well. Yeah. So if you're connecting, whether that's in work with people that are more elevated than yourself, if they, have the positions you want, and you're attracting yourself to those people, you're going to learn a lot more. If you're integrating yourself with a group, you're going to get those resources as well. And then also educate yourself. Don't get into the guilty mindset or woe is me about like, oh, I'm an immigrant, I'm illegal, I struggled with that. Like
poor
anything,
me.
Poor me, anything like that may be something difficult, rise above it and just get educated as much as you can for the solution. That's the best thing. Or, I want to go to this school. What do I need to get? Maybe you don't have the means to go to school right now, even though I went after when I was like 21. I didn't graduate till I was 28 because my parents were helping me, but I also had to help and I had a car payment. There's so many things. I couldn't stay on site at school because, I couldn't afford housing. I had to buy a car, then I had a car payment. So, find solutions around it. Don't get defeated, and make sure that you just fill yourself with all the knowledge, resources, and tools you need. And I really do believe that with knowledge, you will succeed. There's nothing more powerful, more important than the knowledge. No one can take that away.
That's what my dad used to tell me. It's like they can take everything away from you, but they cannot take your knowledge. So thank you.
Yeah. With this 4% that we saw, I think just when you're at work, like always, I think it's harder, at least for Hispanics, to like, we're so grateful. I think, being an immigrant, to like have a job, I don't want to rock the boat, so I think it's harder for us to ask for money. And like, we just want to be compliant and helpful. So I think that, getting more of that confidence and your worth. And we are going to do another topic about performance, but when you're in the workplace, just building that value throughout the year, like making, if you have in your system where you can put milestones of like, hey, I took these LinkedIn learning courses. There's LinkedIn learning courses. There's Udemy. There's courses for free you can take to improve skills. There's tons, YouTube videos. There's so many things that you can take a look at to increase skills. And if you are, let's say, in one role and you want to move to another department, contact that hiring manager and say, hey, I'm really interested in taking a look at this. Can you mentor me? Can we meet once a month? Can I like shadow your team and kind of see what they do, see if it's something I'm interested in? And can you help me so that when you have an opening, I would love to have the skills for that position. Or if you want to elevate in your current org structure, talk to your hiring manager so that we can get that number up, so we can have more executives, more Hispanics in leadership, sharing our knowledge, our backgrounds, and really being more diverse and inclusive in the workplace ultimately.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, at least, my parents, grandma, everybody, it's just like work really hard. That's the most important thing. It's just work hard. But never talk about it. Like, never, stay humble. That doesn't work. That's not what you want to do. Like, yeah, obviously don't be like, super annoying about it, but, but share what you've done and report on it and make sure, like, as Rose was saying,
well, you can say my full name, so that's okay.
You want to, just keep a tally of this, so that you are the one hyping yourself up. Like, if you have a great leader, they will be helping you do this, but it's ultimately up to you. Just be okay with flaunting what you've done. There's so many organizations right now too for networking. We should put together a list and share it with you, in the comments. Or if you have any that you want to share with everyone else, like, please put them in the comments. But yeah, networking is really great. There's so many organizations that you can network for Hispanics, or for, just your departments or your fields or your areas of interest or your skill sets. Like, networking is one of the best ways to get notice when you're out there looking for jobs.
We thank you so much for joining us, and we are so excited to share more hot recruiting tips with you in the future.
Subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.